Yo, 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 we're back again. Raps on TV, reporting live. You know what it is. It's been the summer of football. The World Cup was on, so we had to take a bit of time out. I got a new baby. Tom's got a new job, and Inam's got to go on his holidays. So yeah, we're back though. Back with the gang. So quickly gonna get into it. Thanks everyone that's been continue supporting all the Facebook pages. Love that, seeing that activity on social media. This weekend we had a big weekend of boxing in terms of what was going down at the O2. We saw Whyte, who continues to go from strength to strength with a bullying win over Joseph Parker. Joshua Buatsi continues to impress with a first round knockout over his opponent. Anthony Fowler also got a good win, stopping his opponent, which was early on the card, as well as seeing victories for Dave Allen with a great knockout out of nowhere against Nick Webb. And the big man Del Boy is back after looking tired in what most people would call a phone booth fight. Derek Chisora stops Takam in the 8th round, something that we know 12 months ago or less than Anthony Joshua couldn't do that. So yeah, over to my co-host Inam. Inam, what's up? Guten Tag.
Guten Tag, bonjour. Welcome back fight fans. What a weekend of boxing, eh? Heard for Hearn and Sunny again. They put on a great show. No one can deny, regardless how much they hate Hearn, what a great promoter this guy is, right? And following from what you said, you know, we also saw something Whyte do that Joshua didn't do. He also put down Parker. So we're going to be covering all of that. We've got Frank Warren came on to Talk Sport, and told us that what Fury is in serious negotiations with a fight with Wilder, possibly in November, December. So we're going to have a catch up about that. And he also talked about the contract that he's seen, which Shelley Finkel showed to him, which showed numerous guarantees from legitimate, credible companies like Showtime. So join the conversation on 01506 243 403 if you're in the UK. And if you're over in the States, you do 818-794-7004. You might be asked to use the PIN, which is 1194. Today we're also joined by another Raps on TV member, Thomas Lyons. Good weekend, Tom?
Yeah, good weekend, and thanks again for having me on the podcast this week. Like you just mentioned,
Pleasure, mate.
Pleasure.
Yeah, so like you just mentioned there, stacked agenda this week. We're also going to be covering Luis Ortiz's second round win over Kajanu, previous opponent of Joseph Parker. Also going to be breaking down Mikey Garcia's convincing points victory over Robert Easter Jr. For that unification of the IBF and WBC titles, and also the demands for the Errol Spence Jr. fight that sort of circulated after that impressive victory. So yeah, like I just said, just join the conversation. The number's there, it's been given out. So yeah, just join the conversation, and any questions we'll be more than happy to answer. So
yeah, no, thanks, Tom. Good to have you back on as well. I mean, before we get into it, this was a show where we shouldn't really necessarily be talking about Anthony Joshua, or have to mention Anthony Joshua, but it seems like there was a running theme on Saturday night, whether it was domestically or internationally. Joshua's name was brought up. But the key one was two former opponents down in the London O2 Arena. Whyte, a guy that Joshua beat in 2015, taking on Joseph Parker, who recently relinquished his belts to Anthony Joshua in a unification fight which took place earlier this year. Guys, you saw the fight. What did you think? How did you assess each fighter?
So just to follow on from the point you just made, where Joshua wasn't really involved this weekend, I want to draw that theme into this fight. One thing that made Joshua such an explosive character and such a big, massive fan favourite was his fighting style, where he was knocking out fans, right? And it was ultimately the massive promotion behind his Klitschko fight, and ultimately what happened in that fight that made him such a megastar, right? But what we've seen subsequently is his performance have changed completely. It really didn't stop Takam, right? The way he stopped Takam is how Chisora stopped Takam. That was a stoppage, right? That did not happen in the Joshua fight, right? And likewise, with the Parker fight, it was just a ball fest. Don't know what was going on in that fight. We all know about the referee story. Don't go back into it. So what we're expecting now, with this fight, Parker and Joseph Parker, it was a brilliant fight, I have to say. Parker was too safe in my opinion. Should have done a lot more in the earlier rounds. I think the size advantage that Whyte had probably played a large part of it. And I think it probably left Parker exhausted, because to keep one guy that's one stone heavier off on you, the amount of energy you're going to have to exert to keep him off, it will drain you, right? So, you can see Parker started off really well, really fast jabs, in and out movement. He was clearly the quicker of the two. Tim far more technically better of the two fighters as well. And I think over the course of the fight, Dillian Whyte just wore him down, and it was out of sheer exhaustion. I think part of it was exhaustion, where he got caught with a flash knockdown and he went down. Because prior to that, he got caught quite a few times by Whyte, quite clean, and he sort of just shook through it, Mm-hmm. And likewise, he came on strong towards the end of the fight, and Whyte was exhausted by this point as well. Ultimate soldier. I mean, he went down as well. He went down heavy. I thought the referee gave him a lot of time. He gave him more than 10 seconds. If you look into counting again, it was almost like 15, 16 seconds. Because he gets up, he's holding him by the top of his shorts for 4 or 5 seconds, then he lets the fight go on. So Parker lost, a good few seconds there, which he could have used for a stoppage. But overall, fantastic fight, and one that I think, if you speak to a lot of fans, especially the casuals, if they saw that, they're going to be on the Dillian Whyte bandwagon, right? Because this is exactly what happened with Joshua. And what's happening with this, and I think we'll carry on with the Fury negotiations with Wilder later on, right? You have something like the Fury-Wilder fight happen, and off the back of 2 explosive fights in the weekend, I think it will impact Joshua's fan base. That's my personal opinion. Over to you, Tom.
Yeah, just picking up from that, I think Parker was, in the last fight, very negative against Joshua, probably thought that he could coast through the opening few rounds, and I thought it was a similar situation with this fight. A lot of the time, Dillian Whyte's opponents, they kind of get into the ring and they're thinking he's not going to start quick, but Dillian Whyte, give credit where credit's due. He's able to go through the gears when it does, get tough down those championship rounds, and down the stretch he's very, he's able to wear opponents down. Obviously Parker's much more game, mobile, and is able to evade a lot more shots than what Lucas Brown was able to, but I think it was just too little too late for Joseph Parker to have any sort of assertion on the fight and really kind of nick rounds, because with boxing skills you're able to nick the rounds here and there when they are close, but I think just purely on work rate, Dillian Whyte was able to sort of manhandle Parker, and that's what got him the victory in the end.
Yeah,
what did you think about Froch and Bellew's scoring? Before we're going to ask Froch up in the fight as well, but Tom, what do you think of the way Sky were assessing the fight and the scoring by Froch and Bellew? Do you think he was biased?
Yeah, I thought it was. I was looking at the Froch scorecards in between rounds. I think it got to the 8th round and I was seeing something like 7-1 for Whyte, and I was just thinking, at least if it was 6-2, maybe 5-3, and they did give him, Whyte the majority of the rounds, then you could probably put a case to say, he was nicking them. But I felt personally the rounds were much closer. I just thought that if you are going to score the rounds to Whyte, it was going to be purely on work rate, being able to sort of tussle up on the inside and outwork Parker in those areas where he's a bit more, not as strong as what they're about to be.
And what about you, Coach? How did you assess the fight?
Yeah, so it's difficult for me. I think that you guys kind of said most of it. I think my disappointment really was around Parker. I've not been a huge fan of him. The times I have seen him really are against Ruiz, Fury, and obviously Joshua. And for me, I think he's got lucky with a belt, and I think he's just a version of Charles Martin. Maybe that's super harsh, but you fight for a unification belt. You don't leave it all on the line. You get that pointed out to you, and the opponent that's kind of in your face, even from the weigh-in. In the face-to-face, you saw signs that he wasn't really on it the way Dillian Whyte was on it. And, fighting is about using your strengths and fighting to your strengths. And Dillian Whyte fought to his strength. I liked the fight. I was happy. I thought it was very entertaining. I know if there was an extra minute, Whyte probably would have lost the fight, but did Parker really deserve it to have to get active in the 12th round and then, by energy levels being sapped, you get the knockdown? I thought it was good that Whyte showed some smarts to kind of prevent Parker from being able to do any further damage. So, yeah, I was impressed. And, yeah, I mean, going back to your point, and I'm sure we're going to touch on it further, is, yeah, I do think, it said a lot about how Whyte was able to apply a lot more pressure on Parker. And it was kind of more or less the same Parker, maybe a less engaging Parker. Whyte was able to apply more pressure, whereas Joshua didn't do the same effect on a guy that was trying to fight in the inside, was up and close. So, yeah, I think there was an interesting thing from a tactic point of view.
Yeah, and Coach obviously touched on there, Parker's work rate and sort of reluctance to engage early on in the fight. Why do you think, taking into account, he's come to Joshua's backyard and now Whyte again, come to, an opponent's backyard. Why do you think he's so reluctant to start applying the pressure early on in fights?
Yeah, I mean, my opinion, I just think he's a nice guy. I think we've kind of seen that in the gloves are off. I don't think maybe he's even a true heavyweight. He is a big guy, but I don't know. There's something about his frame that is a bit smallish. I don't know. Yeah, I just don't think I don't think he's as an aggressive guy to fight at the elite level. Maybe in New Zealand and that region, you can get by. He's got some skills. He's got a decent boxing ability. But have you been impressed with any of the fights you've seen him in? I don't know how many times you've watched him.
To go back to the question, whilst Parker so like to engage, I think you saw like hitting the nail on the head in some ways, coach, because he's too big to be a cruiserweight. We can take that for granted. He's too big to be a cruiserweight.
Yeah.
The issue we have these days with the heavyweights, you've got super heavyweights now, right? You go back to the 80s, 90s, that was a heavyweight, 6'3", 6'4", 220, 225, that kind of size. Klitschko dominated the heavyweight scene because of his sheer size, 6'8", right? No one could touch him because of that. And obviously he's technically very good, right? The fact that he's technically so good and he has a massive size advantage prevents anyone from touching him, really, right? Which led to when the first time he fought Tyson Fury, right? Tyson Fury was the bigger man, and basically the tactics he deployed for the last 10 years went out the window. He couldn't apply no more. And we saw what happened, right? Same thing with Anthony Joshua, 6'8" kind of guy, and he went toe-to-toe in some ways, right? But Josie Parker, he doesn't fit into that kind of, into that bracket.
Yeah.
Tyson Fury, 6'9", Anthony Joshua, 6'8", Wilder, 6'7", 6'8". We're in an era of super heavyweight, so he has to rely on his speed and things like that. But in heavyweight, over the stretch of a fight, if it's true heavyweight and the big modern day heavyweight is engaging you, that's it. Someone like Errol Miller will probably do the same thing to him. This guy comes in at 300 pounds. So I think that's one aspect of it. I think, he's reluctant to engage. I think initially he did, but I think he just realised he's going to have no true impact until it's later down the stretch.
Yeah.
And, someone who's coming a stone heavier, it's like I'm saying, to keep that guy off him, right, you're going to have to keep on throwing heavy bombs to try and discourage this guy. And it just wasn't working. Every time you find those heavy bombs, they're exerting a lot of energy, right? And the final thing I think it is, I think, he's probably lost a bit of hunger, because money is such a thing in life, right? He's made 8-9 million quid, I reckon, from the Joshua fight. If you just do that quick calculation, and we heard Joshua got about 15-16 mil, right? We know he roughly got 35%. So if you're working it backwards, it works out to be about 8-9 mil, right? So that's a nice bit of change, for someone who's not had that kind of money. It's a lot of money suddenly, right? Yeah. And off this fight, would have got some. So I think, he got to the pinnacle of the sport. He fought in a massive setting in Cardiff, right? Got 8-9 million quid. Is anything really going to truly replicate that in his career again? Very unlikely, right? When you get to those kind of heights, you're always going to look for something bigger to get that buzz going. So I think he's probably lost his hunger as well, and I think that came across in that fight. You're right. The gloves were off. He just seemed poor answers. Just getting bullied by Dillian Whyte in that. at the weigh-in, right, Dillian Whyte was literally in his face, and he's just moving his face away, like White's face smells or something, like, man, you can't be doing this.
Yeah.
And during the fight itself as well, he's just too soft. Like, what are you doing, mate?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Show some aggression.
Show some aggression, exactly. Backing off too quick.
Do you think it was a lot of nervous energy used in the build-up, and that might have detriment to his performance, or do you just think it was that hunger that he just possibly didn't have, knowing that a lot was on the line in this fight?
I think so. I mean, don't get me wrong. There was a lot on the line, because the winner of this, there's only one place they can go after that, right? Okay. Really, to go any higher in that fight than those two, it's got to be Wilder or Joshua, right? Yeah. Especially after that performance, right? There is really, no one else, which sort of leads on to the next question: who should Whyte fight next? Over to you.
Or Tom, do you want to? I'll let Tom answer that.
Okay, Tom, do you want to answer that, mate?
Yeah, in terms of obviously Parker dropping down, I think to in terms of the equivalent to domestic level, but for Whyte, I think it's going to be that problem with obviously being prevented to have that world title shot with the various sort of shenanigans that the WBC have been doing with all these false eliminators that they've been coming out with to say that these two will be ordered to fight next. I wouldn't mind seeing Whyte against maybe Pulev. I mean, if he doesn't get that world title shot, I mean, who else could he possibly, fight? I think a Chisora rematch would be good to see, especially after Chisora's, stoppage from the weekend. But I think a Pulev would be a decent opponent if he wasn't to get a world title shot, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, Pulev's got. He's been ordered to. He and Pulev have been ordered to face each other, and they've gone to purse bids. So I know that Pulev's out of the question. I think Chisora is probably a step down for him at this stage, regardless of what people say. It was a slugfest. It was a brilliant potential fight. I don't know, it was a fight of the year contender. And I just think at this stage of his career, I mean, he's been through 2 solid wars now, right? Yeah. It's not fair on someone as well, especially when he wants to get a fight with the likes of Joshua and Wilder, and he's looking at April. I mean, he's going to be waiting for that fight to fall apart between Joshua and Wilder. So hopefully he can get the rematch with Joshua or a fight with Wilder, right? For him to go into a fight of that magnitude, just before that he's in another war, right? It's going to drain the guy and just affects his opportunities for the next one, I think. So I think it's going to be something not so hard. Someone, even Gerald Miller, someone like that, or Dominic Brazil, one of those types of guys, where it should be a reasonably easy fight for him, in my opinion.
I mean, I think for me, if I was to answer that question, my I'll say dream answer would be, I think, Luis Ortiz, or he should wait it out, because I do believe that Whyte, if I was to look at all of the heavyweights that are in contention without a belt, obviously, he deserves the opportunity to get a title shot, probably at least the most, if not, he's 1 or 2. There's only 2, him and who else, to be fair. I think he definitely deserves a shot. So for me, I would like to see... Dillian Whyte. I think Dillian Whyte deserves a fight with... So, and the annoying thing is that I think they're going to make the Joshua Whyte rematch, because you can see the story. But I don't think there'll be any different result personally. But I think he definitely deserves it. I can't see, we're going to touch on the whole Wilder thing. I don't see that happening now, because if you're looking at Wilder fighting Fury potentially November, December, even if he gets out in the next 6 weeks, which is probably going to be unlikely, it's always going to be a low opponent. I think the trouble for Whyte as well is going to be that, can he fight anybody with any quality going into it? I mean, I think he has to look at the Sam Sextons of his world, because those are the only guys where you can get a bit of a run out, maybe work on the double jab, get some rounds, and then bang, get another knockout. It's on the highlight reel, and then they kind of build it up going into the Joshua one. I think if he takes anybody Say again?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. You just said there with the Sam Sexton, along those lines, because that was his first pay-per-view fight, you know. And off the back of that performance of what has happened, Hearn is going to know people will now pay for a Dillian Whyte fight.
Yeah.
Off the back of the Chisora fight, off the back of the Parker fight, right? People will genuinely now pay. He's got a second heavyweight pay-per-view card coming up, right? Yeah. And if he does another highlight reel knockout of someone, Hearn can just sell it out to mass casuals again, and he's going to have like a second Joshua. It might be not that big, but you can imagine, right? You can imagine the pay-per-view sales on a Joshua Whyte rematch if they like promote on the back of that Chisora slugfest, right? The historical beef between the two,
exactly.
The Parker fight, they relate it back to, you know, the common opponents, right? And they're going to sell it as Whyte is now far better fighter than he was. This could potentially be a 60-40, 50-50 fight. That's how it's going to be portrayed, right? 100%. So it could end up being, you know. The only other thing is I was going to say, I really like the idea of an Ortiz fight. And what I would think, is if they agree that, you know, Wilder Joshua fight, then the best option would be Ortiz Whyte fight as well. And whoever wins, they fight the winner. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So following on from that, guys, we had another amazing performance. Del Boy, Derek Chisora, back from the ashes, you know, fought Takam, a previous Joshua opponent, who went 11 rounds with Joshua before being stopped, in my opinion, in very controversial fashion. What did you make of the fight?
Tom, you want to go?
Yeah, I think it's this type of performance that Chisora was probably hiding for a long time. I mean, he's like the weather when it comes to turning up on the night. I think I saw a footage today of him sparring Brian Jennings, and just the ferociousness of their spar, could see that he was bang up to the fight. And yeah, to make that sort of statement, it's definitely catapulted his position in the division. I wouldn't get too overhyped about the performance because, I mean, up until the knockout, Takam was in cruise control, if I'm being honest. And I mean, arguably, Dr. Charles could have easily pulled Chisora out. And having taken, you know, that much punishment, it can take a lot out of the fighter. And to suggest that maybe he could move up again in level, you know, it could be a bad decision for him because he, you know, could face another tough night and take a lot more punishment than what he did against Takam. So,
yeah, I mean, I will say, Tom, I definitely think in terms of like the fight potentially being stopped, I think it would have been harsh. I see where you're coming from. I think it was their game plan. I think the key thing that Chisora was kind of doing was he wasn't unanswering punches from Takam for a long length of time. So even if Takam was throwing a few combinations, you know, every now and then Chisora would kind of just throw a body hook or throw a jab. I think as well he was blocking a lot of shots. But yeah, I think, you know, ultimately from a hype machine or a hype trade, I think he deserves it. And I'll say this, for me to see or to hear the O2 screaming out Del Boy or Derek Chisora, I wouldn't have believed that would have happened. So I think he's definitely been able to pick himself up off the canvas. I think he's another name that domestically he can, you know, create some entertaining fights. I think the key thing with Chisora is just that if he's up for it in the training, and you usually see that from his social media. You know, sometimes, you know, you've seen him on a fight and you're like, I didn't even know he was fighting. He wasn't training. And then other times, you know, he's in the fight because he's constantly showing work. So, yeah, I think he definitely deserved that win. I mean, for me, I do want to, unfortunately, talk about, and I know we'll get into it, I do really want to talk about the fact that Takam had 2 months to prepare for this fight and couldn't stop Chisora. So what does that say about his quality? Before we even talk about the fact Chisora stopped him, I mean, where do we rate Takam as an opponent? Is he a quote-unquote bum?
I wouldn't say that. I mean, he's definitely up there as a world-class fighter, you know. Mm-hmm. I mean, you saw the way he started the fight. You know, he was pounding Chisora, right? He had him against the ropes for a few of the rounds. At some point, I was thinking, is Chisora doing a rope-a-dope? I don't know if that was the plan, to wear the guy out, you know. But there was times, you know, in the first round, I thought, damn, he's going to get stopped. Even in the first round, I mean, Takam was onto him like a bolt of lightning. But the fight started, he's on him, he had him against the ropes, and that happened for long periods of the fight. And I think what's happened is during that fight, Takam is clearly gassed. So it's like what you were saying with that part of the tactics. Everyone's getting pounded, he's not doing anything. I just had this thing of like rope-a-dope in my mind. I'm thinking, could that be the case? Is that what they're trying to do? But he was taking a lot of punishment, right? For Takam to have been stopped, I think, man, like people like Joshua couldn't stop this guy. He is definitely world class. Right? There's no question of that, in my opinion. He's not there up there with the top elite level fighters, but he's just below that level.
I mean, I don't think he is, but yeah.
Okay.
But no worries. But I don't think he's a bum either. I mean, to be fair, I don't think he's world class. But I definitely don't think he's a bum. I think it's just more about how we measure this as an opponent when we like to use CVs as a reason why people shouldn't fight each other. How does Takam's CV look now, getting knocked out by Chisora? But yeah, I mean, from now, I mean, my question was, who could Chisora fight now?
So, I think like, off the back of that performance, he's definitely been shot up into everything's sort of led by social media these days, right? And publicity and how much popularity someone has got. You hit the nail on the head, right? When have we ever heard anybody shout out Del Boy? When the whole arena shouting his name out, right? Now, we've got to bear in mind, right? He is now a very, very marketable product. The Dillian Whyte fight, a lot of people thought he won. I thought he won that Dillian Whyte fight.
Yeah, most people did.
Then then he had this knockout real performance, right? So it's a bit unfair to almost say like, he's come out of the ashes like a phoenix that's risen again. It's constant because that was a good fight he had against Dillian Whyte. So I think he deserves a solid fight now. It's just a question of who does he fight. I would love to see him fight. I would love, an Ortiz fight would be a good fight, I reckon.
Yeah.
If he fights Ortiz, it's probably going to be taken out, right? But imagine he beats Ortiz. Right? Just imagine that. That fight in the UK would sell.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. If they had something like Dillian Whyte fight, main card with Derek Chisora, with Louis Torres' an undercard, that, in my opinion, would be a pay-per-view fight.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, I mean, Tom, what would you say? Who else? What names would you throw into the mixer?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say whether he's going to take a fight just beyond domestic level, or is he going to wait around to see if he can get that final eliminator for a world title? But I think, Nam perfectly sums up there with Ortiz. I mean, it's a sellable fight. Chisora's made a massive statement there, knocking out someone that Joshua took 11 rounds before stopping, and in controversial fashion. So, I mean, it's sort of shaking up the division, massively now, because it's kind of where do you put Chisora in terms of a lot of miles on the clock? Has he got it in him to have 3 or 4 fights, meaningful fights, and fights that can take a lot out of him, and that potentially he could have a lot of damage sustained to him. But I mean, an Ortiz fight, Joe Joyce fight potentially after a few more fights Joe Joyce has. I mean, a Miller fight even could be a massive promotion.
That's a very good shout. To be fair, that's
why not see him for the season?
For me, I think Jarrell Miller. Sorry, I think Chisora Jarrell Miller. Sorry.
That sounds like a great fight, actually. It'd be another slugfest, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it'll be good. But then it raises Miller's name, because now Chisora is obviously a name. So, if they can build it up like what you're saying, whenever Dillian Whyte fights, make Chisora be on the undercard. So it's just, 2 guys are coming to fight. Miller would definitely be interested in that. I think it also, if Dillian Whyte wants to become a pay-per-view sort of like regular, I think that's what he needs. He needs undercards which are going to provide knockouts, because, as you were saying about the event and the Hearn and leading up to it, a lot of people were like, oh, I'm not paying £20 for this. Who are these people on undercard, blah, blah, blah. And I said, listen, I'm paying for it, and I'm paying for it for the Del Boy for the Chisora Takam fight and the Whyte Parker, because I think that's what I was paying for.
Yeah.
And a lot of people afterwards were like, yeah, it was worth it. That was worth it. So I think they've definitely, you know, in terms of like a result, return on investment, I think a lot of people will be pleased with the fact they paid that on the night. So yeah, moving on, guys. This week, I think, what is it, yesterday? We all kind of got audio sent to many of us early in the morning with Warren's interview on TalkSport. And in that interview in TalkSport, he says that Fury and Wilder is a fight that he's having talks with, and they are in negotiations, potentially to look at a 2-fight deal similar to the Ward Kovalev. Guys, what do you think about this matchup?
Tom, for you, mate.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of a matchup, I mean, everyone wants to see Fury back at world level, but you have to be realistic. He's fighting TNS on the 18th of August, and then you're giving yourself, 4 months to prepare for a Wilder fight, potentially the end of November, early December. I mean, I don't really take much from it. I kind of now, since Fury's return, I've just been sort of, at a slow pace, really, the way his, I expect his career to, this phase of his career to unfold. But, I mean, if there is talks, about a Wilder fight at the end of the year, then why not? But, I mean, to be realistic, you kind of have to step your level of opponent up before you can even start chasing the world champions. But, let's just see what happens in the next few weeks and not get too carried away with ourselves and see what comes to fruition.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, my opinion is slightly different from that, To make a statement like we are in talks with the Wilder camp, right? Well, you've got to bear in mind, people are very critical of Fury now, especially after the Chisora fight, number one. Number two, every few weeks he's out with another video, dropping Joshua's name, dropping Wilder's name, saying something negative, get controversy, get publicity, right? Initially it was like, brilliant, Fury video, it goes up, you get lots of comments, blah, blah, blah. Now people are bored with it. They're like, oh, here we go, until he gets serious, not bothered, right? That's the general attitude of Fury at the moment with fans, I feel. Now, you can't draw someone like Fury's name into Wilder and his camp's name into social media like this and say you're in negotiations, and Warren goes onto a nationwide radio show like TalkSport and talk about Fury fighting Wilder unless they're serious. Because if they're not serious and they're making these things, right, and they don't put it up, they're going to lose so much credibility, right? Let's just state that as a fact, right? You've got fans now talking about it. So how can you get fans talking about this and then not be serious? And the fans, you're only going to breed disappointment in your own team. So the moment you say, no, it's not happening, people are like, for fuck's sake. That's the exact reaction that's going to happen. And you will see that build up massively throughout social media. The second thing as well, they've done a massive move here, right? It's a great chess move, right? They've brought up on the fact that there's two camps to the whole Joshua Wilder situation. A lot of people are saying, look, Hearn is manipulating, he's lying, he's just protecting Joshua, right? You've had 2 fights now where Joshua hasn't really truly performed, and you've had 2 fights, with 2 previous opponents, and they've just rammed each other. His profile's going to start dipping. It's going to dip. The moment they say Fury's going to fight Wilder, the attention is going to move straight away to Fury. It's going to move to Fury, right? Now, you cannot tell me that Warren, being an experienced promoter himself, right, would not have picked up on that to say that this is a golden opportunity for us to take away the limelight, And look how they've done it. They've done it after this fight, right? So the shine is off Joshua at the moment, right? They brought in Wilder's name. Wilder's probably thinking the same thing. He's probably pissed, right? Him and his team are probably just pissed off, right, with the way they've been lied to and manipulated. Let's get that fact straight. There's no denying what's happened here. But anyone that believes anything to the contrary is deluded, right? Straight up, yeah? You're going to say it, The one very simple argument that proves that's the case is, where have you ever heard of a fight of that magnitude where one party is not given a percentage of the fight? Unheard of, right? You know that's just a deal breaker there and then, right? So Wilder's team are probably livid, and as soon as they've heard the Fury's camp, you know what? It's a game changer because if Wilder wins, right, suddenly his fan base will explode because here comes the conqueror of the man who beat the man, right? And Wilder himself has made a statement. I want to be the man who beat the man who beat the man, right? So if he beats Fury, he is really the true legitimate heavyweight, right? He is the real legitimate heavyweight champion.
So here's the thing, and I got to caveat that though, and you know me, I've been calling for this fight for a while now. I think the real issue with that fight is, and this is where I'm in two minds. I'm like, I want the fight to happen. I believe, Warren is a serious negotiator in terms of wanting to make deals happen. I think I was going to say Gypsy King, but I think Fury's crazy enough and ambitious enough in that confidence that he probably would try to take Deontay Wilder on by December. My thing is, if Wilder wins, realistically, will he get the credit he deserves? Because I personally feel Fury, that fought Klitschko, will beat Wilder. For all bags of reasons. But we don't know that Fury's coming back. So this is why I'm a little bit like, who's the risk for? Like, is it worth what is Fury worth it? But then he's got that belief in himself. There's the money also as well. We've got to look at what kind of deal they're potentially looking at the table, because as much as people will say Joshua is a star, Fury has become a star off of Joshua's name, even though he beat the man to beat the man. When I say that, I mean, if Wilder wins, as you said, he will become known. Everyone will say, wow, he beat Fury. He might get criticised, but you have to respect him. And it's a name on his CV.
But the prize for that, coach, the prize of that is when it comes back to the negotiating table with Joshua, the cards have changed, mate.
Yeah.
They're going to be coming back to the table, beating the man who beat the man, the real legitimate heavyweight champion, right? We've got massive exposure to the UK market, right? So he gives him an incredible position now to negotiate, right? And bottom line is, at that point, Hearn and Joshua can't do fuck all about it, right? Because the moment we say, with all due respect, guys, this is the true heavyweight champion. It doesn't matter if you've got 3 trinkets and 3 belts. It's irrelevant, right? We know who the real champion was, right? He's beating that guy. You need to then have serious discussions. You've got to forget this £15 million fixed fee. That's just a deal breaker and deliberate ploy to fuck the fight up. Yeah. So that's why it's a massive gamble for Wilder. Because if he pulls you off, he's in that position, right? And the other thing as well, let's not forget, right? Even with Fury, it's going to be a big fight. He's going to make a lot of money, right? Even in the UK with BT Sport, right, with pay-per-view, he will get a lot of money, right? It's the next best thing to a Joshua fight right now. And if he wins, he comes out very, very, very strong in a negotiating point of view. Yeah,
and the other thing as well, just to quickly add is, I guess the bottom line is it's what you're saying there. It's a credible CV, it's name, it's money. So yeah, it's it's not the best option, but it kind of is, because he stopped. Or we'll get into the Ortiz, but really Fury's probably the best other option, because Whyte is going to be unrealistic given that he's just fought Parker. I don't think anybody would be convinced to see Parker fight. Potentially Pulev, but obviously the Pulev thing has gone to purse bid for the mandatory for the WBA. So, yeah, who knows what's going to happen. But, we'll see. So, Tom, so now, what the response? Do you want to talk about ask about the Bellew, the Talk Sport?
So guys, we've heard, we've seen the video going around the Talk Sport thing where Frank Warren has come on to talk about the Fury Wilder situation. Tony Bellew was on the show as well, and his usual very condescending, I love Matchroom, I love Sky, I'm Matchroom Sky kind of attitude. A very condescending manner, talking down to Frank Warren, saying he doesn't believe him, etc. Again, it's that same thing, who do you believe, right? So, guys, over to you. Do you believe Warren was lying about the contract? Coach.
I mean, Tom, do you want to go there? I've been grabbing on, so you want to answer that one, and I'll go after you, mate.
To be fair, Coach, you said that, Warren is very serious negotiation. I have to say, to be honest, with Bellew belittling Warren like that, I think he just should stick to letting the promoters do, that's a lot. It is frustrating from sort of, I know, like, obviously we work within the boxing media, but we're not given obviously the insight that these people are given with all these negotiations and the logistics of contracts and stuff. But from like a fan's perspective, I think, you know, just let the promoters do their job. And I think with all this interference with fighters demanding this, saying that, oh, well, he's not your promoter, so you have no entitlement to a contract or any sort of insight into how negotiations were carried out between AJ and Wilder. I think it's very frustrating. And I mean, I think Warren's serious about, you know, a fight with Wilder. I think if you're reaching out to the American market and, you know, you're saying, well, I mean, is Wilder going to get the credit he deserves for beating Fury, coming back with two, you know, very, very poor sort of opponents? So obviously, we don't know how the Pianetta fight's going to go down. But yeah, to say, you know, that it's perfect for Wilder to fight Fury, having had that 2.5-year layoff and then come back with opponents like he's faced. I mean, it's going to give them an incentive to be like, you know, let's get Fury now, and then that Joshua fight has to materialise. There's no reason as to why it shouldn't. So. Yeah,
no, definitely agree with you on that. I think it was interesting to see Bellew's sort of quick to defend, and we know Bellew's kind of that guy. There's no way he's gonna kind of not give his opinion. But I do think, you know, you're talking about a guy who boxes and a guy that promotes, understands the business, and has no real reason to lie. I know everyone's gonna say the whole Warren Matchroom, blah blah. Warren Matchroom. But I think we've got to kind of stop that now, especially because we're talking about Andrade fighting Billy Joe Saunders, which we missed that. Yeah. But you know, that goes to show that like business deals can be done. So my point is, why would Warren go on a national station and make a lie? And furthermore, Espinosa's backed that up, so I don't think he's lying. I think if we probably trawled through the videos, we would see that Hearn has himself said that he received the contract. I think we know they received some type of contract or sheet or term sheets. So I think for me that makes it interesting. And when I say interesting, just in terms of the whole Bellew and Fury thing, because obviously Bellew and Fury have got a bit of needle. You know, I don't see either of them being characters that will back down. So it'll be interesting to see how that kind of plays out in the background, because obviously Bellew refused to believe that Fury would go into a fight like Wilder for his third fight returning. But yeah, that was my...
Sorry, do you think it's a ploy for Bellew too? Obviously, the way he reacted to hearing about the contract made to Warren about the Wilder fight. Do you think it's a ploy for him to try and claw his way back in to having, you know, the fight with Fury before any sort of targets of Wilder and Joshua happen for the end of the year or early next year?
Yeah, maybe not a ploy. Maybe ploy slash. I like Bellew, but maybe slight bitterness. Maybe, I don't know. And the reason I say that is because, you know, we all wouldn't. I think it's fair to say that Bellew would only beat Fury with the layoff, i.e., he can't fight the Fury that beat Klitschko. I don't believe he has a chance. And
yeah, but I mean, the other point you've got to bear in mind here is he's very, very close to getting to Usyk fight now. You know, he's doing a lot of interviews on that. You know, he done an interview about the Usyk fight, saying, look, you know, if I fight Usyk, it's going to be his last fight.
Yeah.
You know, he said, you know, he made that comment. You know, he said, look, I fight, you know, I've sparred with the guy in amateurs. It's just another level. And if I win, it's likely I'm going to take a lot of beating in this fight, but I'm going to win. I don't know how, but I'm going to win. You know, like he always says. So I don't think he wants to fight Fury anymore. I think it's more like linked to, number one, bitterness. And I think Bellew is positioning himself, definitely, after his career's over in boxing, to have some kind of role in Matchroom, and definitely with Sky. I mean, you can see that from years ago. He's always ran Hearn. He's always just treating Hearn like some kind of God's gift. You know, you can see that. You know, it's just sort of cringy at some point. So I don't think it can't be a ploy to fight Fury, because I did think that at one stage, right? But then when you see the Usyk discussions and the interviews, you know that's getting quite serious. It could be that he wants to have this Fury thing in the background, or some kind of negotiation with Usyk, like, well, if you don't fight me, I'm fighting Fury. And by this happening, they're just throws it out the window, right? You know, that option they would have had going into discussion is gone, right? So going back to the contract situation we're on, I mean, I agree with Coach completely on this. We know there was a contract because they've spoken about it. Barry Hearn has spoken about the contract, right? You know, the offer was there. They never accepted that offer, right? They never outright rejected. They just never accepted the offer. So yeah, the contract was there, you know. And why would Warren lie? Warren has seen it. He's saying, number one, but for him to then name drop Showtime and say Showtime have guaranteed it, you've got to understand the legal implications of making comments like that, right? And Warren knows all about litigation because he's litigated and sued a number of people over the years. There is no way someone that savvy, legally speaking, right, would name drop Showtime on a £50 million guarantee if it was not true. You know, so that's just my view on it, you know?
Yeah. So I guess, guys, just our last one on this is obviously we know what's been negotiated. Which fight would you prefer to watch though? Wilder versus Fury or Wilder versus Joshua?
I think Wilder versus Joshua at the moment.
Yeah, it's got to be Wilder versus Joshua still. You know, that is the fight.
Yeah.
You know, we always say, you know, Fury's still coming back from a layoff. We don't know how it's going to go. You know, he is a technical genius. We didn't see anything in the Seferi fight because he probably just wasn't bothered at all. But that's not to say he still hasn't got his abilities. You know, the only thing that would really be affecting him at this stage is things like timings, you know, a bit of ring rust. Is he back to complete fight fitness and match fitness? You know, what you're going to bear in mind, he's so clever, Fury, in the ring, right? He basically knows, right? So long as he moves, Wilder cannot touch him. Yeah. Because Wilder is a stationary target, right? To be able to load up and hit someone, right, you've got to be doing it while they're stationary, right? Because if you're moving and they're moving, you can't load up and hit someone hard.
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
What I mean?
That's not
his.
No, I agree, bro. So, I agree. I think, we know that the Fury's light-footed, you know, that alone and his switch hitting will confuse Wilder. And that's why I say if it's a Klitschko of old, then he's got a chance. Because obviously Klitschko really only landed one solid blow on Fury. And we could argue with Wilder, that's all it could potentially take. For me, I agree with you. I think it definitely has to be Joshua. I think you're talking about guys at their prime. As much as I think it'll be good, you know, with the politics of Wilder versus Fury, I think the fight we need to see is Wilder Joshua Wilder. I think anything else is cool, but it's not really what we want to see. So moving on subjects, Inem?
Yes, guys, so we saw return of Ortiz this weekend. Ortiz, who is a honorary member of the Raps on TV Facebook group, and we name drop him all the time. He fought
Why not?
Who was he's an ex-opponent of Joseph Parker. So is he back? Is he back, or is he just fought a pretty bad opponent, guys?
Yeah, I think pretty bad opponent. I mean, Kajanu isn't someone really you can label any more than a sparring partner, really, if I'm being, brutally honest. So in preparation for the Parker fight he had last summer, I mean, just very, very negative fighter. And I thought, Parker against AJ was very negative, but I haven't seen a more negative opponent as Kajanu was. But I think it's explanatory for Ortiz to get him out of there early and just he couldn't really learn much, but just to keep himself relevant in the elite mix and have made a statement that can counterbalance with a statement such as what Chisora did on the weekend and Whyte beating Parker. I mean, he just needed to with all the attention across the shores, to make sure that he wasn't messing about with an opponent like Kajanu. So.
Yeah, no, I think I definitely think he hit the nail on the head. I don't think Kajanu's the worst opponent, but I think the key thing is he done what you would have wanted him to do, get him out there in less than 3 rounds. And he done that, and he set it up well. And I mean, with Ortiz, what I like with him is when he throws those big shots, and you saw this against in the Wilder fight, is is his concentration and the focus he has to land that shot. I think for me, there are some talking points in that fight, though, because obviously he hit Kojanu with a big right hand, and that was it for Kojanu. So, that shows that he's still got power, because I would argue that, lesser guys have gone further. And I think for me, it goes to show that, Ortiz can still do something in the division. I don't think he's a total write-off. I didn't like the fact he said, as far as I'm concerned, I never lost to Wilder, because I was like, well, you got stopped. There wasn't a real robbery or any massive controversy, so he's got to just hold that L. But I do think, in terms of the heavyweight division, a lot of people will say, it's not the greatest, it's not the Tyson era. But I think if you're looking at competitive matchups, if everybody's down and kind of not on the bullshit, I think we could have some really good fights in the next, 12 to 18 months. You've still got the likes of a Huey Fury, who I still think could potentially not be a world title challenger, but could bring some good fights. Jarrell Miller, who we've spoken about. Obviously, your Wilder, Joshua's and Furies. But, Dillian Whyte is obviously one there is now here. Daniel Dubois, Nathan Gorman. So these are guys that can fight. Dave Allen, I don't rate him highly, but, he got a great knockout last weekend. So, I think the heavyweight division on the whole is definitely on the up. That's not even mentioning the guys like Pulev, Kawanaki that's coming through. I'm looking forward to that. So, moving on, guys.
So we've got, obviously, the fights from the States. Mikey Garcia successfully defending his belts and picking up the IBF strap against Easter Junior. So, Kojo, do you want to summarise the fight, break it down for us, and just sort of give your opinion on how impressed you were with Mikey Garcia on the weekend?
We can go back and forth on it. Definitely. Again, I watched that, found the stream, and for some reason, disappointed with Box Nation. That's my complaint. You should have been showing that fight. I don't care about your relationship with Top Rank. But no, I watched that night of boxing, and for Garcia, I have to say I'm impressed. There's not too much to say about the performance, more about what the impact of the performance and the future for Garcia. One of the things I was looking for was to see how he negates the range. I felt that he fought very smartly. I felt that, let's not forget he dropped Easter cleanly, caught him with a sharp right. For me, I think Mikey Garcia, it wasn't an outstanding performance, but it was a performance of levels. You're talking about timing, measuring your distance, counter-attacking, moving, not being caught up in a clinch, because you're negating a 10-inch reach between the two guys. Clearly, it was all about, what could he do against Spence Jr.? I know he's called him out. I think it's great that he's called him out. But I'm going to say, for me, I think he shouldn't go there. Not even because I favour Spence, forgetting all of that. More, I think Crawford or Lomachenko are probably more evenly matched, in a sense that these are guys that are smaller in weight, probably more closer, and strength isn't going to be a defining factor. We've seen over the years that a good, strong fighter can have their way. So for me, I felt it was good. Easter Jr. didn't offer much. He was just second best to everything. Tom, what do you think?
Yeah, I have to agree with you there. The way he measured the distance, knowing that Easter was the naturally bigger man with the longer arms. The sort of, the way he was able to target Easter to the body and head, evading sort of any, when Easter was trying to close the distance, being able to step out of range and then pick Easter off. And obviously the flash knockdown in the third round definitely changed the momentum. Mikey Garcia then just sort of built from strength to strength down the stretch and was able to close the fight out comfortably. And I think, like you just said there, with a Lomachenko or a Crawford, they are definitely evenly matched. I think if he was to step up to 147 and fight Spence, there's a lot more that Spence would be looking at in the fight with, obviously looking into the fight with Easter Jr., thinking there is things that he can exploit, and there's a lot more sort of aspects of Spence's game. Defensively, very sound, but attacking-wise, he's able to inflict a lot of damage on his opponents. And I think up close on the inside, I think Spence would have the upper advantage, if I'm being totally honest.
Yeah, no.
I don't think he should go to that Spence. I mean, Spence Jr.'s talking about it as well. He says, I don't know, Spencer Jr. is going to get no real credit for fighting such a small guy. I don't know why he's even thinking about it, to be honest. It's going to be a real... I mean, what Mikey Garcia has probably seen, he's probably seen technical flaws in Spence Jr., right? With what we've seen with someone like Spence Jr., he's a beast. That's the thing about him. He's an absolute beast, right? Mikey Garcia is a beast at the smaller weights, but he's technically such a sound guy, right? I think a real fight of the ages right now, where he should fight Lomachenko, because that would really seal his position. Because if one doesn't fight Spence Jr., it could affect him for the rest of his career. It's one of those type of fights. He should be advised to stay away from it, fight Loma. And if he fights Loma, right, how do you think that works out? Who wins?
Yeah. Sorry, say that again, mate.
Well, if he fights Lomachenko,
who wins?
Loma, do you reckon?
I'm thinking. For me, I think I'm picking Garcia. After the Issa Junior fight, I think it will be maybe Lomachenko's next opponent that can make me change my mind. But I think what we saw against Linares, I think that's something that Garcia would have looked at, and that's what kind of surprises me is that they're kind of dismissing that. I think you said something there, Namis, that it's like what's going to build his legacy more, and I think that Lomachenko does more for his legacy than Errol Spence Jr., especially from a casual perspective. It'll be a wonderful achievement, but how many of the guys are going to look at it and think, oh yeah, he beat Spence Jr., as opposed to, oh, he beat the Matrix, this guy must be fantastic. Do you get where I'm coming from?
And don't forget, he could become the undisputed 135-pound champ.
Yeah.
Lomachenko is fighting Beltran for the WBA belt. I'm pretty sure Beltran is the WBA belt holder.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So in essence, if he beats him, Lomachenko's got 2 belts, Garcia's got 2 belts.
Exactly.
Really, just makes sense for both of them to just get it on.
That's the only that to be
champ,
exactly, and that's, to be fair, that should be the only argument. And then because then you're doing essentially what Crawford's done at in the weight at the division above you at the time. But then it's like, well, actually, Garcia Crawford is a real fight. Then do you see what I mean? Because there's not that much difference. I just think. Yeah, I think it's good. I think it's good for Spence Jr. as well because they're calling his name. He's getting irritated. I don't know if you guys saw him and Crawford had a bit of Twitter beef. And to be fair, Crawford's not scared. Even the way he said it, he's like, man, I'm not. He's like, you'll see. You'll see. So I'm like, okay, that's good to see.
Crawford was like, you all need to realise I own the street.
Yeah.
I own all of it. Yeah. This box is all mine.
Yeah.
And everyone just piped up, make a comment. And I feel look, man, Crawford is about that life. We know that. Yeah, he's not out to play. I think he beats Spence Jr. to be honest. I think he beats him.
Yeah, I'm not so sure.
I think he's just technically just superior kind of guy.
See, I think.
Spence.
And I will say, I mean, you were saying it earlier. For me, Spence Jr. is technically up there. I mean, don't forget, he's Olympic. He's fought at the Olympics. I want to say what medal he took. I want to say he got gold, didn't he?
Nah, I don't think he got gold.
He didn't get gold?
No. Did he even get... Yeah, no, because, there was that guy, Nick Hernandez, I think, I can't remember his name, right? In the last Olympics, he was the first American Olympian to get a medal in a long time. Okay,
right? Yeah. So for me, I think Errol Spence is up there technically, and I think we'll see that. Again, I think it's the size that will let Crawford down, but Crawford is a fucking fighter and he's hungry. So, for me, I think it's going to make 147 a very, very interesting division. So, looking forward to seeing what happens next. So, Tom, you want to talk about the Luke Campbell news that we heard?
I was just going to raise the point there before I move on to bits of news this week about Luke Campbell joining McGuigan and obviously Joe Joyce's trial period with Abel Sanchez. I just wanted to be touching on the welterweight division you just said there, it's heating up very nicely. Who do you guys see winning the Garcia Porter fight? Obviously, we had the first press conference yesterday. Garcia reckons that he's an all-round better fighter than Porter. That Porter's said that he's always had that underdog mentality and that could possibly play a factor in the fight. Who do you see winning that fight?
I think Porter wins that fight. I think he's got too much. He's too much of a dog for Garcia. I think to be able to keep him off. And the thing is that Porter's been after Garcia for a long, long, long time. He made that crazy kind of WWF kind of video with the cowboy hat. Do you remember a long time ago? And I just don't think Garcia's got the strength. He's probably got the strength. I don't know if he's got the ability, right? To keep Porter. And Porter's got a serious chin as well, right? I just don't think he can keep Porter off. I mean, Porter's just non-stop. He's just a relentless kind of guy.
So for me, I'm slightly the reverse in that. I think, in terms of, I probably would pick Porter. I think I'll pick closer to the time, but at the moment I'll probably say Porter. I think Garcia's probably got the boxing ability, but it's the strength where I feel that he's going to be lacking. Considering that, Porter was originally sort of like in that middleweight kind of zone, and he's quite stocky. He's high pressure type of fighter. Always going to be up on your chest, trying to fight on the inside. I think that's what Garcia may struggle to deal with. But it's
Garcia's got a horrible hook as well. He's got a powerful hook. That's what I'm saying. Porter's going to be coming in. If he gets his timing right, bang. I'm just not saying Porter doesn't go down.
Yeah,
that's
but this is it.
Right?
This is it. Yeah. So, and that's what I mean. So it's like, no matter how much you keep punching him, similar to what we saw a little bit with Parker's, are you going to be able to stop him coming at you? And that's what I don't know. I think it's a really good matchup, to be fair, especially because we're looking at a WBC King after that. Tom, what do you think? Who are you picking?
Yeah, I'm picking Porter to win the fight. I think, like Anand said there about Porter's, always on your chest. He's relentless. And, I don't dispute that Garcia's got the technical ability. It's just whether he's able to keep Porter at bay for the 12 rounds when, Porter's pressing the pace. Even if Porter thought he was winning the fight, he'd still be on top of you for the 12 rounds. And that's what separates him in terms of physicality with the other welterweights out there. And he's always going to give you a hard night's work. So, purely on work rate, I think Porter wins. But I wouldn't be surprised if it went the other way, if Garcia showed an extra sort of level or two to his game, which could possibly see him over the line. So it's interesting, intriguing matchups. Let's not forget Sean Porter is an ex-guest of the show as well, so we're going to big him up just for that.
Big up.
Big up.
So Tom, you wanna quickly catch on the news or?
Yeah, just before we wrap up, Luke Campbell's parted ways with Jorge Rubio. The two have ended on good terms, and now he's joined McGuigan's stable. He's joining Josh Taylor. So I think we pay good money to watch them to spar. It'd be great to see how he settles in the McGuigan gym, and obviously both going for world titles possibly the end of this year. Taylor in the World Boxing Super Series, and Luke Campbell has his own sights on getting back to the top. So it's interesting to see how the two will work together. You guys have any thoughts on how do you think the pairing will? How do you think McGuigan will help Campbell in terms of getting into that world title again?
I think he's probably just moved back because he just wants to be close to home. I think that's probably why he's joined McGuigan. That's the impression I get. Luke Campbell is an all-round brilliant fighter. Jorge Rubio is an elite level boxer trainer as well. We know that Isaac Chamberlain's just going to join his camp as well. I think it's more he wants to be back in England rather than make any kind of technical changes. Nothing's come across in the interview where he suggested anything like that. Anyway, we're running out of time, guys, so I'm going to quickly go over to Joy Jose, who was out in Big Bear, California. We saw on Facebook his manager, Sam Jones of S-Jam Boxing, putting up a lot of posts that they're out there. I was thinking, what are they doing out there? They're doing a lot of stuff with Triple G and all this kind of stuff. They're playing basketball with him. And they got announced yesterday that, Abel Sanchez has agreed to now start training Joy Joyce, which is great news, So he's gone from one elite trainer, Ismail Salas, who's now based over in Dubai. I don't know what he's doing out there, but he started a new venture apparently, training Arabs to get the first Arab world champion. Maybe something to do with the World Boxing Super Series going over to Jeddah. We should have talked about that as well, guys. We forgot to cover that.
Yeah.
So that's that.
All right.
So guys, let's wrap up now. You know, we've got thanks again to all the callers, which we didn't have today though. But everyone that's listening, we can see we've got a load of people listening again. Appreciate all the support. Big up all the guys on Facebook, social, and all our social media pages. Don't forget to download via iTunes and Android podcast. You can listen to the show on our YouTube account and also via Blog Talk Radio.
Definitely. Thank you very much, guys. Over and out. Have a good week. See you later, guys.
Yeah, right.